The alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besige.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk.
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Yes, a very good morning and a warm welcome to the Interface Show. My name is Edgar Matthew Karuhanga. We are at the end of this particular year. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the 31st day of December 2022. And of course, every Saturday, as you know, we have a gentleman who does not need a lot of explaining about him. He is retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besige. He has been in the politics of Uganda for a lot of years now. And of course, we celebrate him. And of course, we want to host him, and we host him each and every Saturday to just listen from him on his insight on how the state of the country is and maybe how better we can make Uganda. My name is Edgar Matthew Karuhanga. I'm your show host for today, and we're going to be having a good time up to like 12 p.m. That is 12 midday right here. You can send in those comments through our social media platforms at Digitalk TV. That is on Facebook and YouTube, at Digitalk TV on Twitter, at the Alternative Uganda still on Twitter. We'll be getting some of your messages. But before or without any further ado, allow me welcome retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besige. You're welcome to the Interface.
Thank you very much, Edgar, and nice always to be here to the Digitalk Interface program.
Yes.
Very good morning to all of you, wherever you are joining us from on this Saturday morning. It's been, of course, a holiday season.
Yeah.
We've just gone through Christmas. I hope all of you had a good Christmas in the circumstances, considering that many people are living through a lot of hardships.
Yes.
But the end of year season and Christmas holidays are times when we can sit back and relax a bit and hopefully share as families.
Yeah.
So I hope you had a good holiday. Of course, the sad thing is that in the holidays there were many fatal road traffic accidents. And my heart goes out to all those families that lost dear ones, that have patients, casualties and patients in hospitals, and all those are going through all kinds of trying times during this period. We pray that the Almighty God will comfort you and strengthen you and guide you through these difficulties. Once again, welcome to this program.
Yes, Dr. Kiza, you've actually mentioned a lot of points, starting from the economic challenges that we are facing up to today. And we're going to be talking about that. Even the road accidents, it has not only been during the festive season, Doctor. It has been throughout the year. We've had a lot of fatalities, a lot of fatal accidents. But before we delve into all those particular discussions, the viewer out there and myself would love to just, for you to paint a picture for your 2022. How has it been in terms of your life as an individual, then in terms of the political spectrum of the country? We've had a lot of stories, and we'll be delving into most of them. We've had stories about, stories about insecurity. We have had stories about divisions in the different arms of government. We've had stories from the NRM itself, from the First Son, a lot of stories in the year 2022. But for you, Doctor, through your political lens or your lens as an individual, how do you think, or what is your take of the year 2022?
Well, just like all other years, I think what characterizes our country, Uganda, for the last couple of decades is the sharp division that exists amongst our people. Where you find, on the one hand,
yes,
those who are enjoying wonderfully, and I think they are the ones who coined the saying of a party after party, party after party. So there are those who are partying
yes,
all the year, who are in comfort, who spend opulently, who travel to all kinds of places in the world, enjoying themselves, who don't share in the lives of the other part of Uganda. So we have two Ugandas.
And what is the percentage of those opulent folks?
Well, I have previously characterized the sizes of these Ugandans into three.
Yes, please.
There is the tiny portion, less than 1%, of those who control the country,
yes,
who control the wealth, who control all power, who own Uganda, a tiny proportion of our people. Now, they have those who facilitate them.
The ones who aid,
Yes,
who help.
yes, yes, who speak for them, who beat up those who want to disturb them, those who, they have facilitators around.
Yes, yes, Doctor.
Who are the elite elements that facilitate them, that justify them.
And you have always had a conversation about the elites.
Yes, yes. There is that elite group that does that.
Is it elite though? You can continue.
Yes, of course it is an elite. And that is one that could, stretch from about 5 to even 10%.
Yes.
It includes, some administrators who are used by the owner in different areas, the members of parliament, the district heads, and so on. Those who facilitate the machinery of those who control the country.
Yes.
So those could be about 9 or, up to 9%. So you can say that 10% of the population gets by, has means to survive and to get by, and not very concerned about the challenges that the rest of the country is facing. Now, the greatest majority, 90% plus,
yes,
are those who are in crisis. And it has been an intensifying and never intensifying crisis, a crisis to survive, a failure to thrive crisis. And these, of course, include the greatest majority of our rural population, the young people who can't access means of survival, who have no jobs, who have no hope, who are roaming the streets, who don't know what tomorrow will bring. So you have those multitudes of people who are in crisis. And as I have said, that crisis has been progressively intensifying, but the intensification of the crisis has clearly escalated in the last 2 years, and for some reasons that are obvious, because we had the COVID pandemic and lockdowns. We have had the war in Europe that interfered with all kinds of supplies. We have had this year also the Ebola epidemic. So there has been climatic problems,
floods everywhere.
Floods and drought
at the same time.
During these times. So a combination of natural phenomenon together with the situations that we create ourselves, the deprivation that is continuous, the deprivation of most people, because what this tiny group is partying with are resources from the greatest majority of people whose resources are being extracted for the benefit and use of a few.
Of a few individuals.
Yes. So this crisis very clearly has intensified during 2022, and I think it has been indeed demonstrated through this holiday season.
Yes.
Because people during the holiday season have been trying their best, first of all, to go and join their families
in the upcountry,
in the rural areas, and to buy, shop for the holiday season. So the business community would be laughing during this season, all the way to the banks to bank what they have been selling from those holiday makers and so on. So the end of year is normally joyous for all, for the holiday makers, for the business community, for the population as a whole.
Okay.
That, I think, has not been the case this time. Very clearly, those traveling up country were far less, and that's why, and you can easily detect that from the hike in transport, which normally starts, like 2 weeks before
the D-Day,
before Christmas, and is sustained and continues to the end of the year. We have seen very little of that. The traffic jams that clog the roads of people moving up country. We've seen far less of that this time, showing, and indeed the business community has been crying. Some had imported things, hoping that they would have, a good season of Christmas, which has not been.
Yes.
And I'm sure we are going to see more shops close as we get into the new year. So the situation, I think, throughout the year has been bleak for most people.
Okay. Allow me to interject from there. As you were starting that submission, you talked about the issue of the Ukraine crisis, doubled with a lot of maybe what they've called international challenges. When we talk about the inflation that is in countries like England, it's up close to 10% now. The general global challenge is there. But then the question I would like to pose to you, Doctor, is where is the thin line? Where do we say that, yes, The Ukraine crisis has been there, right? The global crisis after COVID-19 is there. Industries are still thriving and they're looking for a better way of being better. Where is the thin line? Because the government is saying, hey, this is the reason. But I feel do you think there is another maybe hidden challenge?
I have told you.
Hidden challenge.
I've told you that the crisis we experience in this country has been going on for decades.
It has not just started 2020.
It has nothing to do with the COVID, the war in Europe. It doesn't. It's a crisis that is driven by injustice in the economy, injustice in the politics, injustice in the social sphere, injustice in the environmental protection and use. It is a crisis driven by injustice. And let me, put this, flesh it out.
Yes.
Let's look at the injustice of people not having voices to talk about what affects them and their voices to have influence on how they are governed. Since independence, we live in a country where no leader has ever been removed by the people of Uganda.
Exactly. 60 years down the road.
Yes, where no leader has been lifted by the people of Uganda in a popular, free and fair election to the office of president. All presidents have come into those offices by force.
So that speaks to the population that does not even have power.
Absolutely. I'm painting for you the situation of injustice that underpins the crisis that we have today.
Yes.
Because if you have no voice, you cannot have services. So we live in a country where the greatest majority of people simply have no voice, no say. So we live in a country where the people are taxed and taxed heavily, but they have no say on how their taxes are used.
We have the highest rate of taxes in this country.
And no say on how your taxes are used. So in the outcome, you find that the taxes are applied to the benefit of few who control the power of the country. We've spent this year talking about some of this injustice, that we have a situation where from our taxes, we only, previously I thought that we actually were spending 20,000 for every child that goes to school in the primary education.
It's now less.
I discovered a short while back that it's actually only 10,000.
Doctor, it's 7,000.
No, it was increased.
It's
10,000. In the city here in Kampala, it's 9,000. But for the others, it's 10,000.
Okay.
And that 10,000 for a year is supposed to cater for the education of a child for a year. So, and we have, these millions of children who are being wasted. While those who collect the taxes, those who control the taxes, will never put their children
in the same school.
In the schools where these ones from whom they have collected taxes.
The technical tuition.
Yes, from whom they have collected the taxes. They take theirs into schools that have everything. When they locked down the country for 2 years without education, their children continued having education, and good education, So it's the injustice that is in the social sphere, that you get sick, you go to the healthcare system, there is no help. You have to use your own money to get treatment. Yet you paid taxes. But when you are sick, you must also pay for your health. While those who collected your taxes actually get their health care from abroad. They don't even trust even the private or public health care system here. They have to go abroad to Germany, to United States of America, to where? It's that injustice that has built the crisis we are dealing with. It's not COVID. It's not Ukraine. It's the injustice of land grabbing, which has been going on rampantly all the time. People evicted from their land, which is their only source of livelihood. You know, some people don't know that we have hundreds and thousands of people living in camps who were evicted from their land and have nowhere to go, who are in camps, in Bunyoro, you know, in crowded camps of internally desperate, displaced people, nowhere to go. Their land, miles and miles of land from which they were evicted, taken over by others. That is the injustice. So these families which are in camps, they are part of that crisis. They should never have been there in those camps. They should also be living normal lives in their homes with their children and so on. They are not. Or these children are growing up destitute, desperate, no homes. That is the crisis that has been building, you know. No health care, land grabbing, corruption, you know, the corruption that is unprecedented. The IGG, which is a constitutional body, government body, published a report recently to say that, you know, 8 trillion is stolen every year.
Yes.
8 trillion. That is 1 out of every 5 shillings that is collected is stolen. Not collected, actually, spent. One shilling, because we don't collect all that. So even what we steal is what is borrowed. It's not even, they don't even steal our own money. It's not enough for them. Even what we borrow, they steal. Every one out of every 5 shillings is stolen. So that is the crisis. So some people, all these who steal these trillions, are building malls and blocks of flats and night clubs and so on to enjoy, while those from whom they steal simply get destitute. So the
is the third most, you know, resource that this country has.
Well, so if you call it a resource at all, because you see, slave labor is, I think, the most debilitating for the country. I'm telling you, you know, that Uganda has huge amounts of, you know, natural endowment,
yes,
natural resources,
exactly,
which would be turned into goods and services and earnings, foreign earnings and so on by our own people. But the people that would be doing that are the ones that are shipped.
Or maybe it's just a solution, Doctor, to the increasing unemployment you've talked about.
Why should there
because
be?
These young people are saying, instead of me being destitute in my country, let me go look for money. And after 2 years, they send remittances.
Of course, they are desperate. They are desperate. They hear the stories of those who are killed and whose organs are removed,
and they still go to more.
They still go because they say it is all death. You know, I stay here, I die. I go, I die. Maybe let me go and die there. There may be a slim chance I won't die. You know, it's that desperation which I'm talking about. that paints the crisis we have that has absolutely nothing to do with COVID, with Ukraine.
Okay.
So the crisis we have is self-inflicted.
Okay.
It is a governance problem. It is not a lack of resources. It is not a lack of people that can turn those resources into, the necessary goods and services that we need. It is simply a governance problem.
Okay, now, Doctor, let's take it back to the people themselves. For the past 2 decades and more, you have been on the front line of talking about the injustice in this country. For that reason, you have been incarcerated, you have been at the brink of death in very many instances. You have been incarcerated many times, countless times, and not yet convicted, just ironically. But then, Doctor, why is it that the people you are talking to, the last person who you are agitating for, has failed, for lack of a better word, to really stand up for themselves and say, hey, this is what is going on in the country? Because the things you're talking about, Doctor, even me as a journalist, when I'm in the people down there, these people talk about these things. They see them. The inequalities, the income inequalities in this country, it is seen. The abductions and tortures are seen. The arbitrary arrests and murders have been seen. And you've talked about these things for 22 years and more. Doctor, why is it that the people have failed to yield to your cry for the injustice that is happening in their country?
Well, because they are in captivity by force. And not just by force, but force is the most obvious controller why they cannot, fight and why they have not yet been able to fight and break through. Because you see, terror, remember,
yes, sir,
that the first domination was by foreigners.
Yes.
The Arabs, later on the Europeans. The Europeans and the British in particular,
yes,
dominated us for 70 years. You see?
yes,
It is not because we were happy to be dominated and to be terrorized and to be abused and so on, and our resources to be, taken away. We were not happy.
yes.
But it took us 70 years to rid ourselves of that situation.
The colonialists.
Yes.
Yes.
70 years of struggle.
A lot.
So, overcoming adversity of the type we are talking about is not easy. Because you see, those who control countries by force
Yeah.
mainly use 4 major tools.
Yes, sir.
The first one is to instill a lot of fear in their minds and sustain the fear so that you are paralyzed by fear. Say, if I talk, I'm going to be killed. If I protest, I will be, tortured. I will be humiliated. Even the small thing I am depending on will be taken away from me. So people live in fear. They dwell in fear. In order to get out of this situation, we must overcome that fear. It doesn't happen overnight. In fact, because we have lived under that terror and fear for now 130 years. The 70 of colonial rule, the 60 of what is supposed to be independent Uganda. Minds terrorized. So that terror, for a long time, becomes part of your DNA. It becomes part of your culture. The fear becomes cultural. And our people actually have a culture of fear now. That's why many of our people will tell you that you would rather be humiliated than die. In my language, they would say, "Embuyokfo hemuka." You'd rather, it's okay.
Instead of dying, it's okay you be embarrassed.
It's okay to be humiliated. You live in humiliation rather than dying. So there are also sayings like, in the home of the brave, they are crying. In the home of the cowards, they are laughing. In other words, it's okay to be a coward. You are better off to be a coward than to be brave and cry. So, you know, these are things that have been developed where children are socialized to be cowards, you know, and to accept domination, you know, as part of their culture, you know. They say, you know, the chief cannot be answered, you know, it's part of the culture, a child grows. So we have to, these are the changes that have to take place, and they are in the mind.
Yes.
And they don't happen overnight because they have been inculcated for 130 years. But over and beyond the fear, there is also the control of wealth.
Yeah.
That those who control the countries by force enjoy. They enjoy the control of all the wealth in our country. And they use it to patronize the population. Because if you behave well, you clap for them, sing very well, they give you something. And you look a little better than others. They may give you a job to become their gatekeeper, or the one with the stick to beat those who are, you know, and you may earn a little better, you know, the 9% we talked about. So the patronage, they use the control of wealth to give favors to those who support the sustenance of their system. And those even who have not received the favors then become conditioned to expect favors if they play by the rules of the one dominating. And that's why, you know, like now they are saying, we are going to give you money, parish development model. Money is coming.
Yeah.
100
million.
So you behave. We are going to choose who gets it. You know, if you behave, if you are stubborn in the village, you won't appear on the list of those to get.
These days I have heard that unfortunately the people who are supposed to disperse the money to the different groups, they have instead of getting like the LC5 or the local leaders, they're actually getting NRM leaders. They're the ones who are in lead. The ones who are leading.
Of course. That's the whole thing. It's a patronage system. It is to say, if you behave, if you live by the rules we have set.
And that was the same story with the Myoga.
Yes, we shall give you something, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, they put a drip on those who behave well, so that if you are singing the right song, they open the drip a little and you get something. If you start saying, but things are too tough, they close and say, what are you saying? You say, no. I know you are a good man. Then they open a little. So use of resources by those who control them by force.
Yes.
To patronize, to use favors to control people is the second tool that is used. The third tool which is used is propaganda, because they control the means of communication. They control the media. They control, they bombard the population with their narrative, with to say, no, you are going to be like this parish model. Everyone who listens may think that, the country is going to be heaven because of the parish.
It's going to be wealth everywhere.
Yes, because of the parish development model, and people who hear the stories about the parish development model will wait and think that things are going to get better.
So they will.
But don't forget there were others. There was the Ntandikwa, sijui plan for modernizing agriculture, sijui emioga, sijui it's an endless storytelling, but which bombards the population and stops any other voice challenging them. So if you want to hold a meeting to give the people a different view, they will not allow you to hold a meeting. If you want to go on a rural radio station and give the people another view, they will not allow you on the radio station. Okay. So it's the domination of information that is used to dominate people's minds. Fourthly,
yes,
and the last major tool that is used is to divide those who are held captive and cause them even to conflict amongst each other.
themselves.
So they divide people according to tribal groups, and then they start conflicting. They divide them according to even age groups, even or any form of line on which they can divide the population, party lines, and they think, somebody is NRM, somebody is FDC or NUP, and they think they are, different, yet they are all dominated. But they use them to fight each other, to whether it's religion, they use the religion to divide people and collide them, and so on and so forth, so that people are fighting and contradicting themselves rather than focusing on their common
denominator. There's always a common denominator.
Yes, the one causing the problem. So, it's therefore not surprising that in spite of the fact that we have been trying to do something to awaken the population, to conscientize them, to give them as much information as we can get to them about these situations, it's still not yet possible to cause the overall change.
Okay.
But the change will come.
Yeah.
Just like it took 70 years for the British, I think it will take much less now, because at that time there were far less technologies.
Tools, the social
yes,
media.
Yes. Not only the social media, telephones were not there. There was there were no vehicles even to move in different parts of the country. There were no roads. So it's much easier now, and that's why you are saying that most people now know that there is a problem. That is already one big step ahead.
But then, Doctor, that brings me to a question that I'm sorry for interjecting you. Is it a generational problem? Because let's slide it back a few years from today. You and the people who are in power today sat down and you realized there was a problem, right? And I think the problem then, yes, it was there, but what is the problem that is there today has actually maybe doubled that was there then. But a group of young charismatic men felt it prudent for them to get ammunitions and go fight for the freedom that they believed that Uganda needed, right? Uganda was coming first. But 36 years down the road, we have a different generation, mostly young people, but these people don't feel the urge, maybe the pinch enough to go. Do you think it's maybe a generational problem? Are we having a generation of weak people?
No, I don't think we are. Certainly the socialization is...
Because if you were willing to lose your life, Doctor, you left a very good job and came.
Yes, but
right?
I have told you that even ourselves, we were living in a free Uganda that other people had fought for, to end colonialism.
The Musazis.
Yes. So earlier generations fought to end colonialism. And now we are trying to end, internal domination by our own people.
Yes.
And so this is why I've been saying that this is simply the second phase of the liberation, okay. The second and necessary phase of the liberation, which takes into, which includes the Bush War. It was part of that struggle. It was hijacked, but it was part of that same struggle of ending domination of Ugandans by a cabal of armed people. And so this is just a continuation. It has nothing to do with a generation being weak or strong or what. It is simply the dynamics of how people who dominate others with guns are eventually overcome. So the struggle earlier on was to remove foreign domination. The struggle now is to subordinate the armed, to make them subordinate to the people of Uganda, to the ordinary people of Uganda. And it's a much more difficult struggle actually, exactly. Because the foreigners could be easily isolated. You would easily know.
There was more of a bond that
yes,
yeah, the other ones are different.
Yes, you would easily. But now, like the 9% we are talking about who facilitate, they are from every region, and anybody can become part of it, can be ejected, and so on and so forth. That's why, so even young people, when they start, agitating and being understood by the people around them, they are co-opted. They are quickly co-opted. They say, you what do you want? No, you come. We are giving you a job. We are sending you to the embassy, this and that, we shall solve your problems. Don't you get involved with all these. So it's.
Oh, there is another case of those that are killed, by the way. Yeah, remember when insurrections happened, more than 50 died.
Of course.
The day.
This is why I say it's a combination of fear, and I said fear is the tool number one. The paralyzing the minds of people with fear is tool number one. But tool number two is patronage. They go hand in hand. We will either kill you or co-opt you.
So
and of course, as I've said, domination of especially the rural minds with propaganda. You find people in the rural areas even saying that these messages want to cause war.
They're in the same league with Museveni.
Some will say that, others will say, they want to cause war, put us in problems.
Take us back where we came from.
Yes, we are okay, we don't want war, they see. So we have to overcome all this. We have to overcome fear, we have to overcome the bribes, the favors that those who control our wealth by force use to dominate us. We have to overcome the lack of knowledge, and that's why every Saturday I come here, because my hope is that maybe on those Facebook platforms, on YouTube or where, somebody will possibly get the information that we are trying to give. So the liberation is going to take 3 steps. First is to liberate people's minds so that they are not fearful to act for their right, and so that they also know what change they exactly need. That these children who are are being wasted in schools, that they are going to school when there is nothing, that they understand, that their parents and the children understand that this is a disaster for us, and that
awareness.
Yes, so that awareness, awakening, is the first step. The second step, which we are also engaging our people in, is organizing themselves so that they can coordinate. First of all, that they have a stronger voice together, that they can speak together to say, no, this is not acceptable. But secondly, that they can organize and be coordinated, have a network of leaders amongst the population, so that if there is any message that needs to get to all of them, it is easy for that message to reach them as quickly as possible.
Because there's a network.
Yes, and having achieved those two, the third and final step is to take actions of resistance, to resist those who are holding power against us, to resist them and to break their power, and to subordinate those with guns, to become servants of those without guns, to show them that people are stronger, are more powerful than you with guns.
But that sounds, Doctor, like a fairy tale story to me.
It's not. That's how every nation of the world that is free became free. There is no nation of the world that is free where their militaries are subordinate to civilian authority, where they were not subordinated. All militaries of the world were subordinated by their populations, and that goes on every day. You saw here in Sudan, how Bashir was removed. Bashir was removed because of people, mobilizing and together saying, no, enough is enough, get out. The struggle is still going on, because even the soldiers that removed Bashir and detained him have now been trying to still remain the ones in power.
It's exactly what was it was my
No, it's a process. It's a process. They will still, the population of Sudan is awake, and therefore their struggle can never go backwards. They will still go ahead and dominate and subordinate them. Sometimes in the struggles, there are forward movements and there are sometimes drawbacks. But the main thrust of the struggle will eventually end in people having the power, overall power of the country, and those who are armed becoming their servants. That's how it is. You saw, a person like Obama, a young black African man,
rising to the ranks of
commanding nuclear weapons.
Yes.
And all those generals in America and so on, because the people gave him that power.
But Doctor,
don't forget, America passed exactly through all those processes.
Yes.
In their civil war. So that it's not a fairy tale.
Exactly.
It's not a fairy tale. In other words, it's a reality. It's
it's
the reality of every nation that is free.
Allow me to interject you. Have you sat down to really think from the lens of these soldiers themselves? Because it feels like, we are saying you're going to, take power from the gun, but we are in the reality of Africa, that he who pays the piper determines the tune. Who has the gun?
That is not a reality of Africa. That is a reality of humanity. He who pays the piper calls the tune.
Yeah, so how do we sit down, maybe? How do we find a consensus to really sit down with the army itself? Because if it wasn't for the army of this gentleman from Sudan, he would still be in power today.
Yes, but you see, so who is paying? Who is the piper here? It's a question of simply contextualizing, because it's like, you see now the government is saying, we are bringing you money, a parish development model.
Yeah.
You ask them, where did that money come from? in the first place?
It is 1 trillion from us.
Yes, where did that money come from? It came from those same parishes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's from us, the people. That's what I'm
Yes,
saying.
yes. But they are creating a narrative as if the money came from somewhere else. They are giving it to the parishes. All the money came from the parishes, not just the little the scrums that are being taken, but in State House they spend 2 billion per day.
Exactly.
2 billion per day. So that 2 billion came from the same parishes. The trillions that are spent on classified expenditure, secret work of things that are not known, trillions came from the parishes. So these parishes, if once they have woken up, they can lock their taps, can say, we shall not pay. What will you do? You with guns. If the people in the parishes decided that from 1st January, we are not going to take food to the markets until those who are terrorizing us lay down their gun. We are not taking the food to the markets. What would happen?
You would start a catastrophe.
There is no catastrophe. There is no catastrophe. There is no.
Because hunger is the biggest driver.
Yes,
of
yes, and they will come to realize that they don't control. For example, there are now people who have been failing electricity pylons. And there is no power in many places because the pylons have come down. Will you guard every electricity tree? They are all over the country. Will you guard them? They are guarded by these people. So if they don't want the country to have power, there will be no power.
Exactly.
So you will have to realize that they are more powerful than you.
So the fact people should realize that the power is there.
Absolutely. So it's just a realization that, by the way, why should this fellow come pretending that they are bringing us parish model when this is our money? Which they took in tons and they are now bringing in some particles.
So someone takes with the right hand and gives you the left.
Not even just the right hand. They take, with a trailer and bring with, not even on a spoon. So it's a question of simply people waking up, organizing themselves, and that is the end. Power has shifted.
But you have not talked about the costs, Doctor, of shifting that power. You know what it takes to change power.
Yes.
There are those costs that are involved.
Yes.
Human lives as well.
Yes.
So Doctor,
but the costs...
Let me just pose this question so that you come at once. Do you think President Museveni still has a chance to avoid the costs that come with changing power in such a way or in such a mode? Do you think that there is still time for this government to say, hey, we've come to our senses, we can still do this to make this country better? Maybe to have that spirit of saying Uganda comes first, because the costs are there.
Yeah, well, if there are miracles, indeed, there could be a miracle, and he wakes up and says, look, I am sorry, to have caused all this pain. Now let's have a transition where we hand over power to you. But that is the fairy tale. You were talking about fairy tales. That is, for me, what I would consider as a fairy tale. It will not happen. At least in history, we haven't seen it happening.
We've not seen anybody come.
So we have to struggle to fight for that power to shift.
Comment on the costs, Doctor.
And the costs, yes, there is no, freedom that is free.
It's given out.
Every freedom is fought for and has a cost. But make no mistake,
yes, sir,
the cost of winning freedom and decent government is far, far less than not seeking that freedom. Because we have, at the beginning of this show, we were talking about the thousands of people that die on the roads. Most of those people would not die if we had better roads. You know? Yeah. Yes, of course, there are still accidents, but there would be far less. For example, if the trunk roads, and most of the people who died on the trunk roads between Kampala and Masaka, between Masaka and Mbarara, between Kampala and Jinja, between Jinja and Mbale, most of the people died on those trunk roads. Trunk roads are supposed to be one way, so that those going to Gulu are on a different road from those coming from Gulu to Kampala. If you just make that intervention, many lives will be saved.
Yes.
Because as you realized, most of the accidents were head-on.
Collisions.
Yes, that a truck swerved and maybe the driver was sleeping and it hit the one which was coming from the other side, or things like that, or in corners, or in, you know. So even just by that one intervention, it saves so many lives. Most of the roads have no pedestrian walkways.
Exactly.
So the people who are walking on foot are struggling on the road with the bodas, with bicycles, with tukutuku, with then the cars are coming, then the lorries, then the trailers, then the buses. They are all fighting in the same space. The greatest fatalities, the most people who die are the ones on foot, actually. Yeah. So if
pedestrians.
Yes. True. So if you created pedestrian walkways, that would end so many deaths.
Okay.
So, you know, bad government, the cost of bad government, people who die of malaria, you know, malaria is the killer #1 in Uganda. You know, recently I had Mr. Museveni talk about, you know, why malaria is still killing people. I was living in Kampala in the late 60s, in the 70s. There was no malaria in Kampala because they were city council and vector control people were spraying all the swamps and all the areas where mosquitoes would breed. And there were, of course, no potholes where
water can collect. It's time we go in for that short commercial break. Ladies and gentlemen, you are
so it's very expensive to live under domination. Extreme. The cost of liberation is far less than the cost of living under domination.
The challenge is many people have gotten used to domination.
The slavery, the what. You know.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, monarchical system of government in this country, that is none other than General Muhoozi Kainerugaba. We'll be talking about that and much more issues that are affecting this country, but just after this short commercial break.
Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Beautiful people, you're welcome to the Snap Talk with your girl Teddy Tenjo every Saturday right from 6 to 7.
Naku zino twajirwa flat tami. Tukyayambalako ku ngoye obutukwata. Wajja ku body shaming. Speak up. Gendo ba confronting. Obagambe ekyo kyemukola si kirungi.
Towerabira nti tuli wano ku the alternative Digitalk. Mukwano gwange gwali topic kiri wandyagadde twogereko. Is it about family?
Nga tata wange amanyira nkola n'obuvunanyizibwa nyina bungi. Era agezaako n'anyamba yanda. Naye kumukubira kumubuuzaako. Noga mama we bali kunzaala.
Is it outside family? Is it society? Oh, could it be relationships?
Come and visit, call me. Simanyanga I miss you bichi. Especially embeera y'obudde sinungi. Naye n'omuntu akwagalira mu season yaba takwagala ze nkubuulira.
Just be commenting nga topic yona gyandyagadde twogereko tujjako tujogera kwano ku the alternative Digitalk ku share enganzi the Snap Talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digitalk brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. You are still watching the Interface Show. My name is Edgar Matthew Karuhanga. Happy New Year, by the way, for those who are, celebrating to enter the new year. It's 2023, and I hope you have those resolutions and some goals set for next year, because very many Ugandans just enter the year like that, but I hope 2023 is going to be different. I'm still with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besije. He is a politician and a political activist right here in Kampala, Uganda, and we're still talking about the state of Uganda for the year 2022. What have been some of the highs, some of the lows, and maybe some of the resolutions and lessons learned from various people in the media, in the government, and of course the people themselves. Many people like to call them the wananchi. When we were going for a short commercial break, we talked about Muhoozi Kainerugaba. For those who don't know this gentleman, he is a general in the Uganda People's Defense Forces. He has worked in various capacities and offices in the UPDF, and as well, he is the first son. This gentleman has been sending various messages on his Twitter account, and he has talked about various things. You have read them for those who have gone through his social media handles, and many people are saying it is time for him to take over from where his father will live. By 2026, President Museveni will have been in power for 40 years, and many people think that it's time for his son Muhoozi Kainerugaba to take power. And of course, I think himself, he also believes in this particular narrative. In that regard, I would like to ask you, Doctor, what is your take of these messages? First of all, they are coming from someone who is donning on a military attire, a gentleman who is, let me say, at his epitome. If he's a general in the UPDF, that is the best he can be. And he is the first son of the president. He has made various statements, not only about Uganda, about East Africa, about the rest of the world. What do you make of these statements? Some people take them to be weak. But how about you? What do you think about the statements of Muhoozi Kainerugaba? Throughout the year 2022, he has actually been relentless in sending out messages about what is happening here and what is happening abroad.
First of all, I don't really know what advises, that stance that he has taken. But what I know is that it's definitely diversionary, and in the main thrust of things, not very relevant, because earlier on,
yes,
we considered what is driving the problems of the country.
yes,
The injustices that are at the core of the crisis that the country finds itself.
exactly.
Now, those drivers are not in any form or manner affected by whether there is Muhoozi, Museveni, or some other general. The dynamics do not change. The other day it was Amin, it was Rutwa, it was now Museveni. If it is Muhoozi, if it is some other general, no difference. What we are dealing with is control of the country by force. That's what must end, regardless of who is in control of the force. That's what must end. And even when it ends, we must go through a process that shifts, a transition. That's why we call it a transition, that now shifts and transforms the power structure to the population. It does not shift just like a switch that you switch on, it's on this side, now there is light. There is a process through which power must be shifted from those who control it by force to the population. And anybody who does not, work towards that transition is not a force for good. So clearly, Mr. Muhoozi or General Muhoozi may have an intention of succeeding his father in the control of Uganda by force.
Yeah, because in every statement that he makes,
just like the other generals controlled Uganda, whether it was General Tito Okello Lutwa, whether it was General Amin, whether it was, it does not change the dynamics of the situation in Uganda. What changes the dynamics is to end gun rule and have a transition to popular rule.
Dr. Are you downplaying Muhoozi's ability?
I am not.
It sounds like you are.
No, I'm simply saying,
because
all those generals have abilities, but they are abilities to control the country by force. They can, of course, choose to side with the population in ending gun rule. They could also do that.
Yes.
And work for transition. If there was anybody saying that, I would be attracted to pay attention.
Muhoozi is saying he's fighting for the people. If you're listening to
So if he's fighting for the people,
he's saying he's on the side of the people.
yes, if he's fighting for the people, this is what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
If he's fighting for the people, let him join the people in ending gun rule and working through a transition. Now, the transition is critical because we must agree, we must have a new consensus in the country on how to live together. So there must be a new constitutional process of how that power will be shared in the country. That constitutional process will also provide for new institutions, or for institutions, whether new or not new, will provide for institutions that must now be built under the new dispensation, where they become institutions of the people.
Yes.
Today, all institutions are institutions of the ruler, with the one who has power. So that is a process. If Muhoozi wants to be relevant to what Ugandans are fighting for, that's the process he should be advocating. End gun rule, have this transition where we make a constitution, where we build institutions, including the security institutions that are now called their institutions, even that Muhoozi, I hear him talking about my army.
Yeah, he calls it his army.
So that is what must end. And the one who calls it his army cannot be the one to
But what if it is his army?
So precisely, that's what we must change. That's what we are trying to change. It's of course the army of it's the army of his family, because it's family rule.
And that brings me to
and
the
that's
question.
what we want to end. That's why, in the broader scheme of things, you know, he is totally irrelevant to what we are trying to do. He is one and the same with Museveni and the Yagan rule. He's one and the same. It doesn't matter who is on top, whether it's Muhoozi or Museveni or Geneti or Saleh or whoever. It's family.
So people should not be
rule.
to think that there is an individual who has gone rogue, because he's a gentleman who has been beating, for lack of a better word, the NRM. You see him fighting the ministers, the Utafia.
Yes, as I have said, he may be seeking to.
He's not even happy with the status quo himself.
Quite likely, he may be seeking to be the one on top of the junta. But it's the junta, and the junta must go, regardless of who is on top. For me, I'm not excited whether it's Muhoozi or Geneti or Saleh, or it's just the same family rule that we are seeking to end, or gun rule that we are seeking to end, because it's the family that actually captured the military. It's not, the military is also among the institutions that we must free is the military, because all institutions are captured. So we must free all institutions. We must restructure them under a new consensus. And it's after that, after we have a new consensus, after we have institutions built under the new consensus, that then we can have free and fair elections.
Okay.
And then if Muhoozi wants to contest under that dispensation and qualifies to do so, he would be free to contest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doctor, you've talked about the institutions that we're having in this country, and that brings me to our next maybe topic of discussion. We have institutions that, for lack of a better word, are really looking funny. You have the executive fighting with parliament. You've seen the censure of Persis Namuganza, and some people are saying it has actually gone down to more of a personal issue. We have had recently in the past the Prime Minister as well fighting with, Prime Minister Nabanja was actually fighting the Chief Justice, Alfonso Owiny-Dollo, and you had that. It feels like our arms of government are really on the small discussions. Is there any comment that you have on the way these arms of government or these systems that we have, that you're looking at empowering or starting new systems? Is there anything you would like to just comment about? It feels like the Prime Minister would go and make a decision. in another fraternity where she is not even welcomed, and then you will see on a media station, then Chiefess is getting back to this minister, then you are having a Speaker of Parliament and a minister fighting over marriage or things like that. Aren't we now in a funny, satirical system of government?
Well, I think there are two main areas of interest in regarding the type of institutions that we have.
Yes.
First of all, they know that they have no power.
Okay.
All those institutions, whether it's Parliament, there is nothing Parliament can really do that is in that it oversees and checks the executive. It can't. Our Parliament cannot check the executive. It can't. It has no power to do that. The power is there in the...
There are times they have refused the budget in Parliament and it has gone
No,
past.
absolutely not.
And they say there's improper prioritization.
That is just...
Media?
Yeah, there is nothing. The Parliament does not have any of the powers that are listed in the Constitution. It cannot exercise any of those powers. That it will check the executive, that it will appropriate,
yes.
that it will appropriate.
Sometimes they send it back to executive and they say
that because the executive even doesn't need to pass, as has been demonstrated time and again, doesn't even need to pass through Parliament to get money. They can go straight. They can go straight to the Bank of Uganda and tell Bank of Uganda to release $1 trillion shillings to State House, and the $1 trillion shillings will be released the same day. And if Parliament needs to rectify that, it can be taken to Parliament at some stage, but it will not stop Mr. Museveni when he wants money to have it. This is, I'm not talking out of something, theoretical. I'm talking about what has happened. There is still a case in court, though it has never been tried since 2007.
Yes, sir.
Where, he ordered Bank of Uganda to release money to whoever he wants, and money was released without Parliament. We know that in 2011, he took $700 million from the Bank of Uganda without Parliament. Absolutely. And the Parliament later on was informed to ratify it. Much later.
But it's already done.
Yeah, much later. It was already done.
So,
the Parliament has no power. They waste our money that they are appropriating. There is no appropriation they make. We spend according to what the one who has power wants to spend on, period. That's why, as I'm telling you, our kids are in school playing, doing nothing, cannot gain education because all the money is spent according to what Museveni thinks is a priority, and the education of the children is not his priority. So they have no power of oversight, they have no power of appropriation. They may have some role in legislation, making laws, but the laws, if the executive does not want the law, it will not pass.
Minimum wage is still...
Yes. So they are roles. It's just a typical rubber stamp parliament. The same with the...
Those are very serious allegations you have made.
It's not an allegation. I am showing you why it is.
But
it's not an allegation.
Every after 5 years, Doctor, people go to the polls. We go and elect these members of parliament in hope that they are the last, maybe, cover of force, the last hope. And
Yes.
you're trying to tell Ugandans here that there is nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Yes, of course, they They are there, you know, it's a decoration, really. It's a decoration to say, you know, the country has a parliament, the country has a judiciary, but you think Justice Owiny-Dollo has really power over anything? He doesn't. So if there are cases in which the executive has an interest, the executive will have its way. If it is a case between you and me and we are fighting maybe over this table and they don't have any issue, the judges may then adjudicate, if, especially if both of us don't pay. But otherwise, you know, the situation, I'm not painting a gloomy situation. It is the real situation that we live in, you know. Because you see, which countries have you had where the military attacks courts and changes the court decision and nothing happens?
A year ago, the Sewanyana and Seglinya were released on bail.
Yes.
As soon as they got out, they were bundled up.
Yeah, forget that is a minor issue, but actually forces going into court, you know, the Black Mambas, the way they attacked court officials, blood was running on the carpets of the Chief Justice. So, and has anybody ever been prosecuted for that? No, absolutely not. Where do you find the force attacking Parliament the way it did?
2017?
Yes. In broad daylight, they came from the office of the president, viewed on camera, entered the Parliament, beat the hell out of MPs.
But it was the speaker who at least welcomed them to come and do that.
Well, but she wrote a letter to the president. We have never had an answer from her letter saying who are these people who attacked
her. Because she called for help, but she didn't understand the people that came.
Well, I don't know what she called for, but she wrote lamenting that she had not invited anybody. It's in writing. Whatever else is not, this is in writing. So that shows you that there is no judiciary, there is no parliament, there is no Bank of Uganda. That's why even now there is no governor for a year.
Yeah.
And because the governor is there in Nakasero, Entebbe, wherever he resides, the controller of the bank. So that is what must end. And that's why we need a transition that establishes a new national consensus, builds new institutions or reviews the institutions that are there, and then have new choosing of leaders for the country through a free and fair election.
But after everything you've talked about, Doctor, I feel you have tedious a task. It's very, very big.
Who?
You, the people who are going to change, because
so you are not part of them. You are just an observer. You are just a keen observer. You don't care which way they go, because we are talking about Uganda. If you are Ugandan, you must care. One way or the other, even if you were a part of the 1%, you would care.
Opulent.
You would care because we are coming for you. If you are not, you would care because you have to organize to go for your power. So that is the reality of our situation and the changes that we will have to get.
Sad indeed. Doctor, I'm just going to also point out the issue of Dr. Sam Oledo, the head of Uganda Medical Doctors Association. Recently, the irony is recently the doctors were decrying or depriving the state of pay that is given to them. The people who are working on Ebola have not yet been paid, I think, last I heard. You look at the intern doctors themselves over this year.
You see, that one you don't need to dwell a lot on it, because I have told you, all institutions have been captured. institutions of the state, like the ones we were talking about, Parliament, Judiciary, Bank of Uganda.
These people are begging from 7 to come back in 2026.
Electoral Commission, all those have been captured. But also, on top of state institutions, non-state institutions have also been captured. That's why you find an Oledo in the medical association.
With various doctors crying and saying,
yes,
please
yes,
come back.
because the Oledos are the ones that constitute the other part of the 9% who have captured the non-state institutions, the facilitators of those who capture and who captured and control the country.
Yes.
The Oledos are the facilitators. You'll find them in all non-state institutions, not just the medical association. The law society there is an Oledo there. The the labor unions, you'll find Oledos. so that is the process.
Yeah.
So the liberation we are talking about is a liberation not only of the state institutions, but all institutions in the country, because they have all been captured.
Okay, you're still watching the Interface Show, by the way. A few minutes to the end of the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can keep sending in those messages as they come through, and we shall maybe get a time or two to just look through them. So keep sending in those messages. I'm still with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besigye. We're talking about the year 2022 in the lens of this gentleman, talking about Uganda, a country that is a bit, going through turmoil here and there, but also a country that many people have dubbed a country of happiness, or happy people. I don't know if we are happy as we sound or as we seem to be, but in that particular regard, Doctor, we also have an issue of insecurity in this country. There are many people who are not like yourself, who don't believe in constitutional means of changing government, and those are the allied democratic forces. And recently, through the presidential address, we realized that they had infiltrated over 30 of them, and they were put out of action. That's how they like to use that word, but it's meaning they were killed. And Doctor, we saw young children being aligned in the media, and just to comment on this insecurity, and maybe, do you think in 2022 and beyond, we can see a government being ousted from power through the gun, the same mode that brought the government we have today 36 years ago? Can it be the same mode to take them away? Because some people think so.
Well, first of all, it's very difficult to know what is going on truly in the security sector.
Exactly.
Because we have people that are unbelievable, who are pathological liars in charge of the country, who indeed say the truth by accident. So you can't know what is going on, whether there is ADF, whether there is any other insurgent groups. You can't know, because they themselves are capable of faking all kinds of situations. But what is undeniable, which is where we started,
Yes.
is that there is a huge social, economic, and political crisis in the country. And with such a kind of a crisis, people are likely to agitate. And the ones who should not complain at all should be Mr. Museveni and his junta. Because what is good for the goose is also good for the gander. If he took up guns that brought him to power, why should he expect that he's the last one
To use those guns.
to do that? He has shown the way. He showed the way. If it was legitimate for him to do that, others will consider it legitimate for them to also do the same. And so, if there is insurgency, it would not be surprising at all, because there is huge discontent in the country. Discontent at many levels. Those who are economically excluded and desperate, those who are socially excluded and desperate, those who are politically excluded and persecuted. You know, you cannot keep on beating people, you know, capturing people from their homes on all kinds of flimsy suspicion, taking them to some unknown places and battering them to death or to near death, and you throw them on the streets or in courts or whatever. You know, that kind of a situation will definitely cause some people to say, no, we will also fight. That's what caused me to go to the bush myself. Yes. I had absolutely no intention of fighting anything until I was aggressed, tortured, and nearly killed. So the people they are torturing all over the place, they are the ones recruiting rebellion against themselves. So I'm not surprised that there are acts that clearly are growing insecurity. They will be either by disgruntled population, yes, desperate population fighting for their survival, or they may be by the government itself.
Wow. Playing politics.
Trying to preempt, yes, to create a reason to unleash a new round of terror, so that indeed those who may be developing ideas of fighting them may cringe and fear to do so. But all of it is driven by the same thing, the crisis in the country. Whether the acts of insecurity, growing insecurity we see, are by the people themselves, the desperate people, or state inspired, state driven, does not matter.
So we have trust issues here. And it's just common, even in the young, even when government tells you to go and vaccinate.
Of course, and it should be understandable.
Yes, but you feel like everything that the government brings up front,
absolutely,
there is that it's just inherent.
Absolutely, because it's an alien government. It's a government of aliens, and that should be very clear. It's not a government of the people, so it must be suspected. Just like when we had, in fact, this will be more suspected than even the colonial rule. These would be more highly suspected. So it's understandable, it's expected that they should be, because you've had Mr. Museveni bragging of killing, you know, all kinds of people. He has never fought any foreigners. All the people that have been killed by UPDF, by police, are Ugandans. So why shouldn't they suspect you? If you treat Ugandans as your enemies, then they have a reason also to suspect you.
But the gentleman you're talking about recently in his presidential address came out and said, who is doing the abductions? I also don't know. Exactly those were his words. And Kahindo Tafile recently also made another exclusive towards the end of the year, I think yesterday. But
well, of course.
And he also mentions the same thing.
We don't know who's abducting. Of course, that cannot be, and that is...
So government does not know, we don't know.
That's probably the climax of a pathetic leader, you know? If you have been in charge of a country for nearly 4 decades, and you say, I don't know who is picking up people and taking them.
It's exactly what he said. And it's not the first time he's saying it. I think it's the second time he's saying it.
Then you are the most pathetic person that can ever lay claim on leadership, you know? Then what are you doing in government? What are we paying? Why are you taking people's resources? All those trillions that it is for security, I don't know, classified.
Security is the biggest highly funded sector.
Yes. So why would you be taking it and you say, I also don't know, you know? You should then be just locked up, you know? So that is the whole problem. The whole problem is that we really have a crisis of governance. It's a governance crisis, period. And that's what we must definitely overcome. It's not a small problem. And that's why, I have increasingly implored our people to do both. First of all, to fight, to organize, to fight hard. But secondly, also to pray. Yeah. Because for me, I'm also a believer in God. And I believe that the God I believe is a God of fairness, of justice, not of confusion and chaos and so on. And that, the kind of satanic forces that I see and actions which we must fight, I think we will fight them with God on our side.
Yeah, of course, in everything you need God. But Doctor, do you think this government in 2022 can be taken off by violence? These people who are attacking the police stations, attacking the barracks, security operatives, do you think they can? Is there a chance for them to take power in such a way?
The security institution?
No, these people who are propagating in courts the insecurity we have.
Well, I cannot dismiss anybody, but it will be unfortunate if they take over power, because then what we have gone through would be recreated, because they will also take over power by force. So the transition we want to shift power from those with guns to those without will still be elusive. That's why I am not with anybody who is picking guns and fighting. I think that's what must be changed. Okay. The whole process of using guns to acquire power must be changed. Okay. And that's what our struggle is about. It is to end that and to organize a transition.
Okay, Doctor, on this 31st day of December 2022, would you want to say that never in your life in the future can we see you carrying guns and resorting to that way in order to change government? Won't that moment ever happen? And remember, a camera is always it's always there.
No, it won't happen. If I wanted to fight with guns, I had them. I had guns, I handed them over. I know where to get them from, even now. If I wanted them, I would get them. And possibly fight better than those who are trying to...
Yeah, because you've been there.
Than those who are trying to fight with them. I believe I can fight well with guns. Okay. But it won't solve the problem we are trying to solve. Okay. And that's why I am, quite categorical about the processes that we need to go through to end the cycle of violence and misrule that this country has suffered.
Because violence begets violence.
Yes.
Every time you use the gun.
Yes.
Doctor, one of the other stories that have made rounds in 2022 is the issue of Umeme exiting the Ugandan market by 2025. And you've talked about the mistrust, or that thing that people have inherently. And it's the same thing that is coming here. People are saying, we moved from UEB, then we went to Umeme. Privatization, we thought it would be the way to go. After a few years down the road, we are going back again and to say that, hey, this Umeme should go, let's stay. And the common denominator among all that time is that electricity has been going on the hike every other day. Right now, 1 unit can go for 1,200 shillings. And yet we get the electricity from here. Just a question to you, Doctor, in your own regard. the exit of Umeme, what is the picture Ugandans should expect? Is there this mafia that they have talked about? Is it also in that particular deal?
Well, the mafia is the one in charge of the country. So every deal, the mafia is there. The mafia,
But who is this mafia?
We live in the mafia state, and Mr. Museveni is the mafia don. There is no doubt about that. We live in a mafia state. And everybody has talked about it.
Yeah, but
including those,
no clarity of this
including those who are in the government. You've had Mama Mbabas talk about the mafia in the government. You've had the Vice President of Kenya talk about the mafia in the government. The mafia is there. What is mafia?
Yes, exactly.
Mafia is organized crime. Mafia is organized crime. And the NRM junta is really organized. It's an organized criminal organization.
It's a gang then.
Yes, it's a criminal organization. So all these trillions that are stolen, the use of the military now, even in other countries and so on, it's organized crime. I have absolutely no doubt about that.
Yes, sir.
And so Umeme is part and parcel of that whole process of controlling and extracting public resources for private good. The cost of electricity is not just a problem of Umeme.
Okay.
It's a problem of the contract. It starts with the problem of the contracts
That were signed.
that built the dams. We have a Bujagari Dam,
Yes.
which was built at a cost of $1.03 billion. Bujagari Dam, which has a maximum capacity of 250 megawatts. Mm-hmm. There is a replica design of Bujagari Dam that was built at about the same time in India.
Exactly.
For $250 million.
Wow. So it was overly inflated to 1 billion.
Yes.
Which is a problem with Uganda.
So Bujagari Dam could have built 4 Bujagaris.
Out of that money.
So the power that comes out of Bujagari will come out 4 times more expensive to start with before you do anything else. Before you pay for its transmission, before you pay for its distribution. Umeme is just at the distribution.
It's not at the...
But you have the cost of generation, you have the cost of transmission. The transmission lines themselves, the cost of erecting the transmission lines themselves is highly inflated. So the cost of transmission is high, the cost of generation is high, and then you find the Umeme who puts the icing.
So we are killing the messenger.
Who puts the icing on the cake.
We are killing the messenger.
Well, Umeme is not just a messenger. He's part of the problem, except that he's the last part that interacts with people.
The face.
Yes, he's the face. He has Umeme has the unfortunate part of being seen.
Yeah. So he will get the chiboko on behalf of the rest.
But the bigger problems are down there in Bujagari, in Karuma, in Narubare, that's where Isimba, that's where the bigger problems are. Right? Then the transmission lines, then you find the Umeme at the... And even that was, I think, really a part of the whole idea of creating those entities, those companies, from UEB,
yes,
to create UETGC, Simani UET what, yes, and Umeme. It was all part of the privatization of public resources.
Yeah, because it was a mean that was deemed necessary in order to,
in fact, now when all these, when they have all been sucked dry, or all these authorities now they are forwarding them back into into the aligned ministries. They are saying now, you can go back to works, and you can go back the other, because they have all been sucked dry.
So it was a wrong strategy.
And now nobody can lend them money. So now, it's terrible, the country we live in and how it has been abused. The kind of abuse that has been visited on our public resources, on the resources of this country, is unprecedented. The damage that has been created by these 40 years of NRM rule. Of course, it's the biggest. It's 2/3 of the time since independence. And it's been extremely disastrous. People become excited that, they have constructed this road, I don't know, from here to there, which was not there. But for whom are they constructing the road? Are they constructing the road for you or to exploit you? Is it to, it's just like not different from how the British government built the railway from Mombasa up to Kirembe, up to the mine. It was coming to pick the copper. It was not meant for us. It was meant to carry what they were looting. It's transport for the loot. So these ones are also building transport for their loot. They need to take the simsim from northern Uganda. They need to take the cotton. They need to take, not any different from how they...
But Doctor, everything in Uganda is overly priced. You have that expressway, you've talked about things that are overly priced. The expressway is the most expensive road in the world.
This is why I'm
we have the food we are procuring. They're telling you, you've procured food at this amount, and yet it's supposed to be at this amount.
That's what I'm telling you, that the damage, the overall damage, which has translated into the crisis we face now, is going to, be very, very costly for us to repair. It's a huge damage that has been created. And it may result in even greater damage as we try to get the transition.
And
you were talking about the cost of a transition. We don't know. We don't know. Anything is still possible. It's scary.
Yeah.
We can even have a genocide. Exactly. It's still possible. So, we must pray. We must pray hard. We must pray a lot. We must work hard. We must work hard and quickly to have the transition. This 2023 may be a very, very critical year.
Bob has said it's going to be a revolutionary year.
It's going to be a critical year in all this, and we should, and it should be. We should, because this crisis that we are in, is really at a very, very tipping edge.
Doctor, just to give us an insight, how powerful is this mafia we hear about? How powerful is it?
Well, it is very powerful, of course. That's why it has...
because many people are saying you're fighting government, but you're actually fighting the mafia.
Yes.
So how powerful is this mafia?
The mafia is the government. This is what I have been telling you. They are not two different things.
They say it's a government and a government.
It's a mafia state. So it's the mafia itself. It's the mafia. All other things...
So the people who are voting into power and who have power are mafias.
Absolutely. They serve the mafia state. The state is a mafia state. So all functionaries in the state are servants of the state, of the mafia state. Okay. Yes.
Okay, we have 10 minutes to go. In these 10 minutes, Doctor, just talk about the PFT. You launched a campaign earlier for the PFT, and you said you wanted to change government as soon as today or tomorrow. And a full year has gone down the road. It has only been you and Mukaku who have actually been vibrant over the issues of PFT. How has the year been for you in the lens of PFT?
You see,
it was fun for transition.
Regardless of the various organizations that may be formed in the process of seeking liberation, regardless of the leaders that may emerge in the process of seeking liberation, the critical determinant element of causing change is the population. And that's why it's wrong to judge the progress or otherwise of the struggle on what you see in terms of the actions or lack of actions of the different formations in the struggle. The population is what needs to be watched all the time, because we are simply, speaking and acting in support of the population. It's it must be a popularly driven change, not individual driven change. So you miss the point if you see Besigye, Mukaku, or Kyagulanyi, or Muntu, or other leaders. You miss the point. The point is, how is the population, how is the discontent in the population?
Yeah.
How do they understand it? The awareness we were talking about. How aware are they about what is going on around them? How organized are they getting? That is what is critical. And so, what we are trying to do in PFT is simply to, like what actually political organizations do, it is to get the feelings of the population and structure them into coherent demands and processes that will change and deliver the demands of the population.
Yes.
So the demands of the population, for example, as we move forwards and as we have been moving,
yes,
is that the corrupt system must come down. We must deal decisively with the corrupt system, with the mafia state. We must deal decisively with the corrupt system, the mafia state.
Yes.
We must restructure resources to benefit the people.
Yes.
I told you about education. There is absolutely no way the children of this country should be condemned to destruction under the guise of education, that you are giving them 10,000 shillings a year.
Those are $3.
Less than $3.
Less than $3.
Less than $3 a year.
Less than $3.
And you say that these are going to school.
Is that what
So even, parents must come up and say, no, of our dead bodies, this cannot continue.
Yeah.
So the people must have clear demands that if we pay taxes, there must be services. We should not again pay for our health.
Yeah.
What are we paying for if we can pay through our noses the taxes and we cannot get health? And the infrastructure is torn as it is. The roads are in shambles. And killing people, and the insecurity is escalating, and the mafias who are supposed to be in charge of the state are saying we don't know what is going on. That must end. So we are going into a year that these must be determined. Can people continue, capturing people at will, and this continues? And people must think. So all we do in PFT,
Yes, doctor,
is simply to crystallize the popular concerns and project them, 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 and project them and inspire the population to organize to achieve the changes they need. But at the end of the day, it has to be the population. And I am very, very optimistic. Yes. Like you said, my appreciation is that things are the population is really, very informed and ready to cause the changes that are needed in this country.
All right, Doctor, we've come to the end of this particular discussion. Happy New Year, by the way.
Yes, I think I should indeed say Happy New Year to all the people out there. But maybe before we clock off, it's worthwhile to express my real happiness and congratulations to our sports men and women who continue to, in the dark and gloom of our country, to really give us excitement and joy when they win.
I'm sorry to just laugh at them because I feel the sportsmen in Uganda, a thriving sportsman coming in Uganda, you are beating odds.
Yes, and that's why this country is, gives us hope.
To just interject you in a minute. The netball team came back to the country, and after making the country proud, beating Australia, the best country in the world, and they came home and they were giving 50,000 on the airport to go home.
Yeah, no, that is standard. That is standard.
That is standard.
Yes, that's standard. And nobody knows even where they passed
exactly
to reach that level of defeating Australia and Mexico and all
they
others.
Don't have just
really sports people, as we close the year, you have my kudos. You are wonderful people that have kept smiles on our face. Keep it up in all the different endeavors of sports that you are engaged in. A very happy new year to all of you. Wish you the changes that we have been talking about, that we wish that our country to have. Let's all work together. Let's all say 2023 should be a special year. Thank you, and God bless you through the new year.
All right, thank you so much, retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besigye Kifefe. He has been with us here, and he's always with us every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 midday. We're always here having a conversation about this country and maybe finding out his insight or his side of the story. Thank you so much for those who have been watching. Thank you for those who have commented. Thank you so much for those who are sharing these videos. And in that regard, I request that you continue sharing these videos as wide as you can, to as various people as you can. My name is Edgar Matthew Karuhanga. Doctor, it was a privilege having you on the show, and of course it's always the most privilege having you watching us every particular Saturday right here on the Interface. We'll meet up next Saturday, same time, same station. My name is Edgar Matthew Karuhanga. On behalf of Digitalk TV, allow me to say, stay blessed.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.